always had that something in you where you wanted to strive for better. So describe for me, what has your journey been like in life?
The journey it's been very hard because, I was on public assistance, so it was like, at first it was a boundary there. Anybody knows about public assistance, they don't want you to go so far or they're gonna cut it off.
When you describe yourself now, tell me, who's Freddie Stevenson, the man that you are now?
A few years ago, I remember in college, they would always have speakers come in and ask us who we are. I wouldn't have been able to answer the question. It probably would have had something to do with football. I'm a fullback for Florida State. I want to play in the NFL. But now it's just simple. I'm Freddie Stevenson, man of purpose.
This is a passion of mine. The whole premise behind the Jazzie Conversations with Jazz podcast is to spotlight the fact that it is now time for you to get your dope comeback story.
Hey, say Jazzie Conversation with Jazz. Jazzie Conversation with Jazz. Say Jazzie Conversations with Jazz. Jazzie Conversations with Jazz.
Every Monday, I call people into a studio and we dig into their comeback stories, because I know that we see people in their glory and we see people when they're on top, when they can have that silver lining to them, but we all go through some things, right? We all go through some things, and I think once we're real with people and we let people know the trials and tribulations that we've gone through, it only makes us human and it connects one of us.
So I just want to know, what would be your advice to someone who is looking to start their own podcast?
First and foremost, let me back up. Find your voice. What are you going to talk about? Is it something that people want to listen to? How long will your podcast be? What's going to be the consistency of your podcast? Are you going to do it like weekly, daily? Are you going to do it monthly? So once you find that, because that's going to indicate if somebody wants to listen to your podcast or not.
I do know how I'm doing it. I'm doing it with God. I'm doing it because this is a passion of mine. And when you are passionate about something, you're not going to stop. So it really it comes down to how bad do you want it. It definitely comes down to how bad do you want it. Welcome, Jazzie crew. This is a fantastic Monday. This is an amazing Monday because it is the first Monday of a new month. So I just want to give a shout out to all of the Leos out there. I think the Libras come next if I'm on point with my zodiac signs. I feel like I'm not, though. I think it's the Virgos that come next, actually. And so I want to say welcome to another exciting, fantastic, informative, energetic episode of this podcast. Established almost 4 years ago, the Jazzie Conversations with Jazz podcast. Over here, we celebrate the power of the comeback. I truly believe that you can come back from anything with God, using the right resources effectively and your willingness to do the necessary work. So guys, we have a celebration coming up, and it is not just a celebration. It's an anniversary with purpose. The Jazzie Conversation with Jazz podcast is turning 4. And so to commemorate that, we are celebrating like we always do every year with a huge, enormous live podcast event. Now, this is an event stemming from noon all the way to 6 p.m. There is a schedule, a program for you that will keep you entertained, that will keep you informed, that will tell you about God, that will show you people who are using the right resources effectively, and show you people who are, in fact, doing the necessary work. Now, this amazing event here in Polk County, for now, because I think we're about to take this on the road. We're getting enough traction where we're about to take it on the road, but we are celebrating here in Polk County. Now, this event, it is going to be you coming in with the idea of coming into a live studio audience, you are going to be a part of my Jazzie crew. We are going to have a live DJ. What I'm going to let you in on right now, first secret, we are bringing DJ Ken Blaze back to the live event. So she and I are gearing up for some things because I love a good sing along. I love me some R&B. I love some karaoke. So we are going to have fun. This is going to be high energy. This is going to be an event where you can network with my net worth. So please make sure that you are there in the building. And trust me, the network is extensive. And so you want to have your place in the building. All right. So definitely be on the lookout for tickets because tickets will start to go on sale next week. So you want to make sure that you get your seat, that you are there. All right. So we are going to have live performances. We are going to have special guests that you definitely want to tap into. We're going to have vendors. We are going to have food trucks. So I want to make sure that you are in the building. And if it's your first time attending the event, trust me, you are definitely in for a treat. You are watching somebody who has dedicated over 4 years to chasing their dreams. And if we're going back to FAMU, I had to wear my orange and green. It's been a journey. It's been a journey ever since high school. So I love being around purpose-driven people. And so that's why I'm so excited about the guests that I have on right now. But before we get into this episode, what I need for you to do is make sure that if you are watching on Facebook, on the business page, and if you are watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button in the top right corner. Also hit that notifications bell. I want you to correspond with me, engage, leave me a comment in the comment section, ask questions, engage. That's what we want for tonight. All right. And so make sure that you are also subscribed on your favorite podcast platform. All right. So without further ado, I met my special guest for episode 161, Mr. Xavier Johnson, at an event that he recently did. When I caught wind that he was a rattler, I knew that I had to tap into him. When I caught wind that he was doing something here in Polk County where his roots are from, I knew I had to tap into him. And definitely when I found out that he was doing something for college, up and coming college students, seniors as well, but those who are getting ready to prepare for college, I immediately tapped in as a parent of a 2026 senior, right? So ask your questions. Tap into him. He has an extensive knowledge base. All right. So without further ado, my special guest for tonight is Mr. Xavier Johnson. He is a creative, visionary event coordinator and a community advocate based in Atlanta, Georgia. With a background in communications design and youth empowerment, Xavier brings both heart and hustle to everything he touches. After facing personal and professional setbacks that forced him to reevaluate his path, he channeled his experiences into purpose, launching the UPLIFT College Readiness Summit, a space designed to equip high school seniors and their families with real tools, relatable insight, and encouragement for the next chapter of life. As a creative navigating and the uncertainties with adulthood, career shifts, and identity, Xavier knows what it looks like, what it feels like to feel stuck during a major life transition. His mission now is to help others move through those moments with intention, creating spaces where guidance feels real, support feels personal, and growth feels possible. So without further ado, I'm bringing Mr. Xavier Johnson to the main stage. How you doing, Xavier?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. I want to say again, thank you so much for agreeing to be on tonight's episode. You are guest 161. We've had tons of guests here, and so I'm just excited that you are here. I'm excited for my guests to know you. And so go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself beyond this extensive bio.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for having me. So once again, I am Xavier. I graduated from Florida A&M University in December of 2023. I have a bachelor's in graphic communications. Like you said, I am from Fort Meade, Florida, born and raised. Went to Fort Meade Middle Senior High School, graduated in 2018. I moved to Atlanta directly after graduating college, due to some work offers. I currently also own a freelance graphic design company by the name of Z Skirt Graphics. So I specialize in all graphic service, flyers, logos, brochures, pamphlets, websites, YouTube intros, anything that you possibly think of. That's my expertise. I also do event planning, creative directing. So I'm just an all around big visionary.
Yeah. So listen, what attracted you to the field of journalism, of graphic art and design? What was that draw for you?
I've always been a very like artsy creative person. I think most people from Fort Meade that really knows me would definitely say that they know me from dancing, like especially when I was younger.
Let me find out, Xavier. You didn't tell me that you used to dance now. Let me find out.
Yeah, especially when I was younger. They used to have like these little team parties on the weekends, and
Yeah.
I was always one of the ones to be known for dancing. So most people have known me from that. And I've always been just into the arts and music and anything that's creative. And then once I got in high school, because I went to a charter school in middle school. So they were very big on, kind of pushing those different things, arts and, just bringing out your creative side and also getting your education. And when I got into Fort Meade Middle Senior High School, I started out in Future Business Leaders of America. It was like a little extracurricular activity. And like we would go to like different seminars where we would go out of town for the weekend, things of that sort. And I thought that's what was going to lead me into being a business person because that was originally my major. But then I ended up getting into doing a newspaper and yearbook because the teacher that was over FBLA was also over newspaper and yearbook as well. And she kind of, introduced me into that. And from there, I kind of found my groove. I like being able to create things, put things together. I like color. I'm just a very bold person. So I think that was what really got me into that. And then from there, just continuing on. By the time I hit my senior year of high school, I became the yearbook editor, like the head chief editor. And I basically was the one who constructed our whole yearbook for that year. And just seeing it once it was printed out and everyone liked it because the traditional Fort Meade Middle Senior High School yearbooks were black and yellow. The year I took over, I decided to change it, and we had a like a watercolored, very colorful, very bright yearbook. Yeah. Everybody loved it. Like it went crazy. Everyone was buying it, and I think that's what really kind of drew me in more to wanted to take the creative route.
I love that. I love that. So just definitely always stepping outside of the box and just flowing with it, and that's what a creative person does. I, definitely a lot of barriers were shut down immediately when I found out that you were a rattler. And so that's just how family is. And so once you find out, it's just like, hey, we are family. And so we're moving forward. Right. And so definitely after high school, that is a huge transition. And you think with your personality, do you think you were ready knowing what you know now? Do you feel that you were, in terms of maturity wise, do you feel that you were ready?
I would say yes and no. The reason why I say that is because I am still the same person that I was before. And while I was in college, I think I just have a better understanding of who I am now. So I'm able to navigate through that. So yeah, I would definitely say it's yes and no.
Okay. So describe your experience on the Hill, because of course, with me being a rattler and with me being a parent of a high school senior, incoming high school senior. That's what was the draw with me coming to your event as well. But describe for a student out there who's on the fence about attending an HBCU and specifically FAMU, how would you sell the school? Because it's more to it than just, the emblems, the mascots, the band. It's more to it than that, because I've tried to give my son the 360 experience, but I tell him there's nothing that can prepare you, really for this experience. Even when I went off to Tops and was able to experience the campus for a weekend, I only got like 0.5% of what I would have experienced going as a student. And so how would you sell FAMU? Because sometimes sometimes schools just get a bad rep, or they don't really, somebody really doesn't give the descriptor that is needed. So Xavier, why FAMU? And then would you continue to choose FAMU?
So I would first like to start off by saying that FAMU is not the only party school. All colleges are party schools. So
And for sure.
yeah, whatever
sure.
narrative that anyone is pushing that, oh, this school does more partying and this school does more, they all party at the end of the day.
Yeah.
All schools are, the same parties happen in each school, whether it's a PWI or HBCU.
Right.
I would like to also add that I initially did not choose FAMU. I knew that I always wanted to go to a HBCU, historically Black college. I know a lot of kids typically don't like to go to those schools, and they feel that is because they don't get a lot of recognition as far as sports go. But I'm here to tell you that we have had so many athletes get drafted into the NFL, the NBA, and even if they haven't gotten to that level as where they're playing there, they are most definitely working there in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. I have lots of people that have graduated and went for FAMU and are working with these professional teams in some type of way or aspect. But yeah, so Morehouse was actually my first choice, which kind of why I ended up in Atlanta, Georgia, in a sense.
Okay.
So when I was younger, we had a mentoring group in Fort Meade by the name of Boys to Men. And it started at Peaceful Believers Church. If you've been in, oh wow, I'm sorry, my light just cut off.
That's okay.
Oop, let me turn it back on.
I think I've heard of that organization before, and I think it's important that, a lot of these kids tap into that, because that's really where their first introduction to an HBCU is. So
right. Yeah. So we had that organization, and with that, it was basically a lot of the men in our community. Fort Meade is very small. So a lot of the men that were our mentors were people that we either went to church with or our football coaches at that point. So what they did was they knew that a lot of these kids took sports seriously. So they just wanted to make sure that we knew how to do things such as like going camping, how to change a tire, how to check your oil. I remember my grandmother, she had provided us with the etiquette class on how to, eat and how to hold utensils. And then we started doing the college tours. They started taking us to different states. I remember one time we went to Washington, D.C. They took us to the White House and everything. And then, like I said, we started touring different colleges here and there. And not only that, but me, myself, I'm a person that likes to figure out stuff on my own. I'm always going to be that one to just do the opposite of what everybody else does. Yeah. So I wanted to start looking into schools because I knew personally, I had the sports and everything of that sort, but I knew I wasn't going to school for that. I knew I didn't want to do that long term. And I even had a cousin, he is retired now, but he's played for the Patriots, the Ravens, the Bucks, and he even mentioned to me, you don't have to go to school for sports. You are smart. You don't have to put yourself in that category. And so from there, like I said, I just started doing a lot of research. And by that time, I think that was 2018 when I graduated 2018. So going into my freshman year of high school, I was more so around the black kids that act like white kids crowd. So it was a different thing for me when I got to Fort Meade, because now I kind of see how public school is. Like, I've been in this area where it's charter school and, you know, strict schedules, dress codes, you know, all these different things. It's like now I have this free time, and a lot of people had started going to HBCUs then. And my aunt, she actually went to FAMU. So that's how I kind of knew a little bit about FAMU. And I remember we had went on campus, and I kind of like got a glimpse of it, but I didn't really too much remember. But as time kind of progressed and me doing my research with schools and things of that sort, I just knew that HBCU was for me. And just applying, doing different things of that sort. I didn't initially get into Morehouse, and so that's what kind of led me going into FAMU. And that's because I tried to do early admission at Morehouse, and I did not know that, but I ended up getting accepted for regular admission. But by that time, I had already kind of like done everything I needed to for FAMU, as far as making friends and things of that sort. I was just like, I might as well go to FAMU. Like, why not?
When did you apply to Morehouse to go into admission?
I don't know. I honestly cannot remember. I think if I remember correctly, FAFSA opens up around October 1st or something like that. So around that time is when I started applying to schools. Like, I had completed my FAFSA and stuff, so I was like, let me go ahead and start applying to schools, because I already knew what schools I wanted to go to. And so I was just like, let me start applying. And so once I didn't get accepted into Morehouse, like I said, I had already kind of gotten the groove of doing everything with FAMU. And I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna stick it out. And my mom was like, well, if you want to transfer afterwards, you can go to Morehouse. But at least give FAMU a try. So that's what I did, which I'm glad I did, honestly.
Good.
Yes.
Saying hey to Talisha real quick, because you know Fort Meade is in the building.
But yes, I'm really glad that I actually did choose FAMU.
I'm glad you did too.
Yeah. You know, I don't know if I would have liked being at Morehouse per se. Because like over time, while I was at FAMU, social media was a very big thing with HBCUs. There was a lot going on, and there was a lot of stuff that I was hearing about and finding out that was happening at Morehouse that I just personally didn't feel like I was comfortable with. So I was, you know, like, okay, I think I made the right decision. So yeah, I will say that I think I will always choose FAMU, even though I don't like the current climate that they're in right now. But I will always choose FAMU because the school definitely gave me a sense of self. It helped me really find myself. I made a lot of connections. I made a lot of friends. A lot of things that I have learned has definitely helped me become the person that I am today. And I don't feel like if I did not go to FAMU and stick it out, I don't think I would be who I am today or in the same position that I am.
I agree. And I feel that it's a safe space for our scholars. It is a sense of community. You know, it's not too big, it's not too small. I feel like it's the perfect size, and I feel like it is the epicenter of culture, you know, of things that we are not taught about ourselves in a traditional school setting. There are, which we talked about at the UPLIFT, the Teen Summit, the College Summit. And so, you know, when we hear HBCU, we just think African American, but there are a plethora of varying cultures and everything under the sun, you know, Afro-Caribbean, you know, just African, Jamaican, you know, just a whole, you know, it's a plethora of who we are. And it wasn't until then that I started to really, really learn about our history. It wasn't until then that I really saw what a network of people could really do for you. Because being in J school, and you know this, you know, once they see your talent, once they see who you are, they see that you are serious, and you vocalize what you really, really want. It's always, hey, we have an alumni here. We have an alumnus here. Tap into this person. I heard so many stories of people wanting to move to LA, and there was like a cipher of a funnel of go through this person. They'll let you sleep in their room until you get your own place. I had places to go, even before I even met these people, just because of the network that we provided. And so it was an experience that I would never take back. And then I'm so happy to hear in recent news that Mr. Joe Fuller is heading back to FAMU at the radio station. So that is amazing news as well, because that is definitely not only FAMU royalty, but that is just radio royalty anyways. And so I'm hoping that my child makes the right decision. I won't force a decision onto him, although I know that FAMU would be the dynamic and best place for him. And I'm saying this because I know he's watching. But when we ventured into your summit, we talked about a lot of things, but the epicenter of this podcast truly is the power of the comeback. And I know that it can be treacherous sometimes for students if they don't know what they really want to do, if they don't know who they are. But Xavier, I know that it had to be something that led you to be very passionate in the creative space, that to be very passionate, to want to even do this event, and then into the man that you are right now. So what do you consider to be your comeback in this life?
I would definitely say my comeback was, I think, when I kind of hit my rock bottom in college. Like when I talked about it during my summit, it was I think it was going into my sophomore year, or during my sophomore year, going into.
So that's pretty early.
Yeah,
pretty
so
early on.
pretty
Okay.
early. And I think what really burnt me out is I felt like I had a lot of pressure on my back, in a sense.
Okay.
And it wasn't necessarily that I felt like my mom or anyone was like pushing me to do something. It's just that I knew, like, they knew that I was capable of doing it. And also, like, when I realized I'm capable of doing something too, I realized, like, sometimes I can kind of stray away from things before I can really see that I can actually do it. And then I will full force in. And being that I, graduated high school May 18th, 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
By June, I was already in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I didn't take a break. I went straight into school. And then it was just more so of like figuring out who I am, coming from Fort Meade, being an openly gay Black man, and not really having that sense of like you can be yourself without people having to judge you type of thing. I think that's more so what I had to kind of come to realization of, being truthful with myself. And so over time, it was just like I kept trying to push myself to fit in with people and fit in with crowds that weren't really for me. And I had to come to a realization, like, that's not who you are as a person. That's not what's making you happy. And the more that you continue to do that, is going to continue to put you in a state of depression or, things of that sort. And so,
well, what were those like cliques, or what group were you trying to fit into?
So when I got onto campus, I had friends previously to that, but I had my core four. It was me, my god best friend Justin, one of our friends Armani, and our other friend Ty. And we had another friend that was part of our group, but she kind of fell off along the way. We just clashed. But Justin, he is a person that is into like modeling and things of that sort. So a lot of people are to get into the modeling trips and the step teams and the dance orgs and all these different things. And I don't think at that time I really knew what I wanted. So I was just trying to do what everybody else was doing. Like, oh, my friends are doing this, they're doing that. Like, I like dancing. I liked, fashion. I like clothes and stuff like that. But I just didn't, at the time, I don't think that was for me. And I didn't feel like I was going to feel the best in those positions. So it's like I would start them and then I would stop halfway through because it was just like, I don't know, I'm not really feeling this. This doesn't really feel good to me. So I just kind of stopped that in a hole. And then, like I spoke at the summit, of course, when I first got on campus, well, by the fall semester of my freshman year, I had started smoking weed at that point.
Mhm.
So, you know, just doing that. And then for the summertime, I didn't really have that many classes. So we were always partying and, you know, things of that sort. And when I came back, I had already knew the area. I had knew people that didn't go to FAMU, like just locals in the area. So,
Yeah.
you know, I kind of had like that advantage over people in a sense.
Mhm.
And so it was like I still wanted to be a normal person, like, but also go to college, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I think, like I said, once I got through the end of my fall semester, or the fall semester of my sophomore year, by that
Okay.
time, I think my GPA had already dropped below 2.0, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
Failed out of classes, withdrawn, just a whole bunch of things. And at that point, I had never told my mom about it. I just was like, you know what, I'm just
You were
gonna,
just thugging it out.
yeah, I'm just gonna keep it on the hush and then
Yeah.
move. And I don't remember exactly the point or what happened, but I know at that time I was either working for Walmart or Target.
Mhm.
But I had ended up telling her, like, you know, I don't really think this school thing's gonna work out. I don't think it's for me. Like, I'm just over it. I'm tired. I don't feel like doing this work no more. Just right now, it's just not time.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I started to kind of come to my sense of self a little bit. And so she was just like, you know, okay, that's fine and all. She was like, do you have a backup plan or what you gonna do? And I was just like, I don't really know at this point, but I'm working. So that's all I have for right now, but I will eventually figure it out. And so, like I said, I sat out the spring semester of my sophomore year and just kind of watching. And at that point, I had disconnected with the school. I took anything related to FAMU off of my social media accounts. I did not go to campus. I did not hang around the campus. I did not go to any of the parties. Like, I did not do anything college related or FAMU related to be in my space because I felt like it was triggering me for some reason. And I don't know why, but it just didn't feel right.
Okay.
And so after that time, towards the end of my sophomore, towards the end of my sophomore year, my friends were, you know, doing all these great things and, you know, talking about different things that was going on. And because I was so disconnected from the school at that point, I was just like, what is going on? Like, what's happening? Like, I'm trying to have them fill me in so that I can somewhat be caught up. And then it was just like, by that time, like I said, I had to kind of experience depression. I had went through anxiety. And I just started doing different things as far as like I started meditating, just finding ways that brought me peace, just experiencing different forms of spirituality. I will say I don't conform myself to a spiritual entity or anything of that sort, but I will say that I do believe in God and all those things, but I had to, I don't know, for some reason I just felt like I had to expand myself in a different way. You know, growing up in church, my dad's side of the family, they had a family church. So, you know, it was just always, I felt like I had this cloud around me that I just didn't know how to get rid of it. And once I kind of went through that and I kind of just really started figuring things out for myself and doing things that I liked and that made me happy versus how it made other people feel, I was like, okay, I think I'm getting the hang of things here. And so by that time, I was like, you know, I think I want to get back into school. I made a promise not only to myself but to my mentor that I came up here to finish. They didn't say how long it had to take. I just know that I made a promise that I was going to finish. So it was just like, you know what? It's my sophomore year. Like, let me go ahead and get this out the way. You know, I know we take stuff or whatever, but I was like, let me just go ahead and get this out the way. And from that point, it was on. I had to do a lot of retaking classes, meeting with advisors, a lot of different things. One of my professors, her name is Professor Hope. she also went through the School of Journalism, and then she came back and was a professor. And when I came back, she was just like, she was glad to see me, all those things. And she was the one professor that I had mentioned at the summit that pulled me aside and was like, I haven't seen you in class, because she knew that I was always this bubbly person, always in if I had food or something. And I think she noticed that I was kind of getting burnt out. And we had a talk. And she was like, it's okay. It's not that you have to rush and graduate in 4 years. It was just, take your time, figure it out, and, go from there. She was like, if it's not for you, it's not for you. But if you think that you can do it, then you do it. And so from there, like I said, I just continue to push and just do what I needed to do so I can make sure that I can graduate. And I wasn't off because I was technically FAMU class of 2022, and I graduated in fall of 2023. So it really wasn't like I was off that much. I was still with my class because even a lot of people that came in with me also graduated in 2023 during the fall. So I didn't really feel like I had really missed much. I felt like it was just a point of coming to myself and realizing what I needed to do and what I wanted.
That's good. And I think that, kids who are preparing to go off college, to college need to hear that. Shayla Riley checked in. She said, Bubs, you're doing great. So proud of you. And then Miss Shonda Nelson, mommy says, thank you, men. Love you. So she's checking in as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. So Xavier, I listened intently when you were describing your journey through what you consider to be your comeback thus far in your life. And I know a lot of young people will go through that where they're going to have to find who they are. And even as adults who fall into a state of depression, who have that anxiety, is because not necessarily carrying with you unrealistic expectations, but it really does have to do with not being true to yourself, not being grounded spiritually. What I heard you say is that you had to get yourself grounded that way. You had to get the right resources. You started meditating. You started, tapping back into what's going on campus so that you can get back into the know. And then you put in the work. And so putting in the work is paramount when we're going through our comeback. And I know Xavier is probably going to come back on, but if you listen to his journey of just him going through his comeback, going through what he had to go through, those are real life things. So I don't want any, incoming senior, any high school student, any, freshman student who's going off to college to succumb to any pressures. And that's why I try to really, really listen to my son while I am directing him with things that he just has to do. Because if college is something that you really want to do, there are just going to be simply things and steps that you have to take. And so that's why it was so important that I had him to attend, this college summit. Like, this child has been attending things since he's been probably in 10th and 9th grade, maybe even before that, in terms of college tours. Mr. Jeffrey Williams does a great job here with the Risk Club, where he exposes kids to different opportunities. Like, he takes them to over 4 or 5, major universities over the summer and treats them as independent, scholars, where, giving them a stipend every day. You have to make the decisions on how you're going to spend the money. And in return, you write these essays to be able to go on the trip. We go to FAMU, Florida State, I think we went to Georgia Tech, Morehouse, Spelman, Clark. Did we go to the University of Alabama? I think that was on his tour at one point, University of Georgia. So as he's exposing these kids to, a lot of different universities. And so I think what really stuck out to me is you finding yourself, you not succumbing to the expectations that other people had on you. Because even as an adult, that's very difficult. Like, I listened to a lot of expectations that people still, and I'm about to be 46 this year in October. And there are still certain people, even in the business realm, when you get into your career, that people just have these expectations for your life or for your business or whatever it is that you're doing. But I find that I let a lot of pressure go, or a lot of pressure goes away from me when I just tune into what is it that I want. Because
Right.
ultimately, when I stay true to what I want, I am able to be more productive. I'm able to be more creative because it's what I want to do. And so, you had a lot of I see it as a lot of support at this event. I want to tell you that you doing this and you being obedient to wanting to help the youth came at such a great time. Because you had students who were about to go back to college. You had high school seniors that were in the building, some that were younger, right in Fort Meade. And so if y'all missed it, if you missed the uplift, college, summit, you really did miss out. You really did. Xavier, you came with so much information. I love the way that you had it planned out for your panelists. I loved your selection of panelists that you had, from the questions to the engagement in the conversation. You had people that weren't even from Polk County that heard about the event, that traveled for over an hour to get there just to get the gems of what you had to offer, door prizes, giving away laptops, to, students that really needed it. You truly did provide a service. You truly provided for me, because parents were there with their child. And what that experience was for me, it was like, we are experiencing this together, because I need for you to know that we are in this together. And I know you don't want to listen to mom's voice all the time. So hear it from people who have just experienced it. Hear it from people and see other students who are coming here to get the same information as you and I are. And so, and by the way, thank you for those school supplies, because I tried to go take him school shopping and he was like, Mom, your mom already got a whole backpack full of supplies. And I was like, from who? And then I was like, oh yeah, from the event. So high five. Thank you, sir. When he won that raffle, I was like, praise God, look at this. I was like, okay, yes. Because I asked him today, I was like, do you need a backpack? He was like, no, Mom. Remember, I have the backpack and the supplies. And I was like, let me make sure I tell Xavier, thank you when I get on this when I get on this podcast episode. I truly appreciate that. So let me know the idea. Tell us, for those people who missed it, they weren't in the building. Tell us, oh my God, Mommy has checked in. Hey, God, Mommy, how you doing? Hey, Sharita, how are you, Miss Hawkins? Thank you so much for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. And while Xavier is talking, while we are doing this podcast episode, if you have questions, make sure that you leave them in the chat, because I will put them here. Make sure that you are sharing this, you are tagging this. People who have high school students need to be tapped in. People who have students who are going off to college, who are in college right now, really need to be tapped into this episode as well. So Xavier, tell us about the purpose behind this event. How did it come to you? How did it come to fruition? How did you plan it out?
Yeah. So when I came up with the UPLIFT Summit, I had originally came up with this idea. Like I said, I want to say it was right after I kind of got back into school, like my junior year, going to my senior year. I was just like, I kind of want to do this thing. And it was more so because, especially in Fort Meade, it was like all these kids want to go off and play sports and think that they're going to be these professional athletes. And it was like, oh, they only want to go to Warner or Weber or Bethune. And I was just like,
I'm sorry, but I like the way. Yes.
It's nothing wrong with Bethune, because I do have a lot of people that went to Bethune, and I had a panelist that was on there that went to Bethune, and it was just, I wanted them to expand their eyes, because I feel like a lot of those kids don't really get outside of Polk County unless it's a family vacation or something of that sort. So I really wanted them to have that knowledge, because I feel like a lot of people think that college is going to be easy and that they're just going to go off and they're just going to do X, Y, and Z, and that's not how it works. And so one of my good friends, she was actually supposed to be on a podcast. Her name is Kosha. She actually just, I want to say right before the podcast, she had just graduated with her master's, and it was something with medicine. Like, I'm not really sure her route, but we had initially planned the summit, and it was, I think, next level or next up or something like that. And we were kind of trying to like figure out how we were going to do it, when we were going to do it, where we were going to do it at, things of that sort. And so once we kind of just let the idea die, I was like, I don't know. I still have umph about doing it. And so I just kept like, we plan on it a little bit. And then once I got ready to graduate, I was just like, yeah, I think I actually want to do it. I just don't know when. I was like, but I don't want to do it right now because, you know, like I'm about to graduate. After that, I'm moving to Georgia because I have a job, and I don't really, at that time, I didn't really have the mindset to do it. So I was just like, I'm gonna wait. And so I want to say in I think like May or something like that, I made a post and I was like, I'm thinking about doing the summit. And what made me make the post about it, I saw something on Facebook, and I have this habit of letting people kind of get under me sometimes. And it's just what I deem as an opinion that wasn't needed or a remark that wasn't needed. I had saw something along those lines about college or something of that sort, and I was just like, what are you talking about? And so I was like, let me go ahead and push this idea of this summit. Let me go ahead and do what I want to do, because I know this is something that's going to be super beneficial. And obviously, like, you can go to college and get a degree, but whether that knowledge and that education is going to show up afterwards, that's on you.
That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. And so that's what kind of made me like, yeah, let's go ahead and do this, because obviously people are misusing their education. So I did that. And when I put out the idea of doing it, I had a large amount of people just like, oh, you need to do this. You should do this. You should do this. Like, I had people texting me like, oh, I think that's a good idea. I think you should really do it. Da, 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 da. And so I mentioned it to my mom, and she was like, why don't you do it? You've been talking about it. Like, we can make it happen. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I put out the flyer, and from there I was just like, okay, this is what I wanted. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of relay my story, or tell my story in a sense, because I feel like most people from Fort Meade think that I am this very, like, I don't know, perceived as this person that's on a high pedestal for some reason. And I will say it's probably because I present myself that way. And I typically try to always market myself as a brand. So that's one way where I feel like, let me tell my story, because I don't think people really realize that I was out of school for a semester and a half. Nobody knew I flunked out. The only people knew was my mom, my grandma, and my aunt. Nobody else knew. Everybody thought I was still in school. Everybody else thought I was still, they just knew I was in Tallahassee. So nobody knew what was going on, nothing of that sort. And I had went through a lot of things. I don't really talk about it, but I had gotten some trouble in 2021. And that kind of also like messed me up a little bit. And I had to kind of like grow from that. But I was just like, you know, let me tell my story, because that part of it had already kind of got out, like that situation that happened in 2021. It had already, I don't know how it got out from Tallahassee to Fort Meade, but some way it did. And I was just like, well, if this is the narrative that they might be thinking what's going on, then let me just, you know, really let them know what's actually going on. So I, it wasn't a secret. It was my story to tell. And I didn't want anyone to come up with their own idea or their own assumption of what happened. So that's why I was like, let me do this. I didn't really mention that in the summit because I didn't really feel like it was important. It's more so my story. And even though that happened, I've still been able to do a lot of great things afterwards. So I just kind of put that in the back of my mind because it's not really that important to me. But yeah, when I got to planning the summit, I was like, I need to find a way to really explain and talk about the things that I experienced and that I went through, because I went to a HBCU and I feel like there's already this negative idea of Black colleges anyways. So
Yeah.
I'm like, well, let me go ahead and talk about some of these negative ideas that people already have about Black colleges, being that I kind of somewhat went through them, but it was more so about how you allow it to happen and what you do about it. And so that's what led me to doing the summit and kind of like planning everything out. And at first I was like, how do I want to do this? Do I want to be up there like talking? Like, I don't really know how I want to do it. And so I just kind of started getting ideas together, and I was like, okay, I want to do a panel. I know I want to do a panel. And I was like, on the panel, I want a bunch of people that are from Fort Meade, that went to college and that graduated and that are, you know, doing things now after graduation.
Yeah.
So like I said, I had one, she graduated and she's the guidance counselor after high school. I had one, and I knew I wanted to have a male that played sports, because everyone in Fort Meade, and not even Fort Meade, but Polk County in general, is so hung up on sports.
Yeah.
That they kind of forget that you have to still do school and things to get to that level. So that's what I really wanted to do. So I made sure I had someone that, you know, was an athlete in college. And then I have myself and the other that wasn't an athlete, but, you know, she was in organizations in college, extracurricular organizations, dance orgs. And I didn't really do any orgs. I was just kind of like just there. But I did do organizations as far as I was selected by one of the professors. And this was actually after my GPA dropped and I got back in school. I was selected by one of the professors to actually tutor the incoming freshmen and sophomores in the graphic design program. So it was just like, you know, let me explain to them how college actually works, because I don't think no one actually knows. There's a lot of people who can rely on someone that actually went to college that can give them this information. And like I said, even with me and my mom, when I got time to go off to college, we didn't really have no one to rely on. It was more so us just figuring things out on our own. Like my high school guidance counselor, me and my mom still talk to her a little bit to this day, but even she would, you know, help. And the reason why we would still talk to her, because she was, I want to say, the assistant principal or something at my middle school.
Okay.
So we had that connection because she had came out to Fort Meade, and, you know, she knew who I was as a person, and she was always pushing me to, you know, be the best version of myself that I could be. And so I asked all my panelists, like, hey, how do y'all feel about this? This is my idea. This is, you know, do y'all feel comfortable enough to get up here and tell your story? I laid it out to them, the outline of how it was going to go, because if you don't know, UPLIFT is an acronym.
Yeah, I was going to say, get into that acronym of what it means.
Yeah, so I did ask them if they were comfortable, and they all replied yes. So I was like, okay, cool. And so for the UPLIFT acronym, the U stands for understanding the landscape. So that is basically how college works, like what you need to do to get there, things of that sort. Personal well-being and mental health. Like I said, that was something that I really resonated with. So I wanted to make sure that kids nowadays, not even kids, but adults, I just feel like, especially now, Black people don't think they need therapy. And there's a lot of built up trauma and things that people don't realize that they have. And until you go to therapy and talk through those things and learn how to, you know, not use those in a negative way, but use that in a positive, then, you know, you won't know how to navigate through life. And so that's I wanted.
I was glad you added that one, actually. Yeah.
Yes. And then L was learning strategies and academic success. Obviously, like I said, I had scholarships going into my freshman year. My GPA dropped sophomore year. I got back in school and I still graduated. Identifying, overcoming distractions. Like I said, speaking on the organizations, everyone's saying, "Oh, it's a party school."
Yeah.
Like smoking and drinking, people always try to, "Oh, you don't need to." It's gonna happen. Like, and I will say this to a lot of parents who try to say, "Oh, you shouldn't be smoking or drinking." Your kids will figure out if they actually like it or don't like it. So you have to kind of, because I know people, they have smoked and they'll be like, "I don't like smoking. I don't like the way that weed makes me feel." Or they'll be like, "I don't really like the way liquor makes me feel." So yes, you can tell them they shouldn't be doing it, it's bad, whatever the case may be. But they're still going to do it because they're going to have that temptation. There's going to be opportunities and they're going to be able to experience whether they actually want to do that or not, depending on the type of person that they are. F was financial literacy and future planning, and T was transitions and transformations. So that was the whole uplift layout, and that's how I based the summit to flow and the panel to flow. So like I said, I generated questions based off kind of things that I went through in a sense, and kind of piggyback off of what each acronym went by. And then I was able to formulate the questions. And I had previously sent the questions to my panelists, so that way they can kind of, prepare themselves or figure out exactly what they want to talk about just in case. But, typically when you get put on the fly to do something, get everything and you just have to pivot. So that was the layout of the Uplift Summit and how I kind of planned that out.
So let me tell you the impactful, just how impactful it was, because the questions that you generated, I could tell that they were well thought out. Just going through each one of them and hearing the different perspectives of the panelists, and even going back to you being real about, you finding you starting to smoke, or starting to do these things, like being very honest with the kids in the room. And like you said, those kids will make that determination. Is it goes to who the person is as a scholar. Just having a room full of realness, having a room full of relatable topics, just be open and honest, and for the parents to be able to be open and honest, because even the students, like, at the end of it, just listening to them, and even, the educator in me, just asking them questions in the moment, because it was not, for me, anything that is impactful is not going to just be a sit and get. Like, I want you to tell me what you've learned. I want you to ask the panelists questions, like, after hearing this, what are your takeaways? And so I made a conscientious decision to ask the scholars. And like, I I love the correspondence between the mother and daughter that came from outside of Polk County, because you had the daughter that wasn't really that vocal, but she would answer questions and she would ask questions. She would respond back when asked, but when they spoke to you personally, just her saying to her mom, without being coerced to do it, she was just like, yeah, a lot of these things, my mom has said to me. She was like, but in reality, it's like I hear her like wah wah wah, but she's like, yeah, a lot of these things are things that my mom tries to tell me. She was like, so I appreciate you guys telling it from your vantage point or whatever. And I'm like, even as not even being her mom, I'm like, Lord, thank you, the child is listening. And that's how I feel about they were there from Kissimmee. Thank you so much, Shonda. But yeah, like that, hearing that's what kids need, to hear. They need to hear from someone who has gone through it not too long ago, because sometimes our experiences can be antiquated. Sometimes, if I'm in my 40s and they just feel like the 40s are just, oh my gosh, like I'm a teenager, it's just too far. You no longer know the landscape of what we have to go through. But yeah, we do, like, listen to that wisdom. But I get it. Like, it depends on how it's being funneled, and you need that student athlete who's going to tell you, look, even as an athlete, like, I'm pushed harder than you. Like, if I want to stay on the team, I have to go to my tutoring sessions. Like, I it's mandatory in my schedule that I keep up with this. Like, how do you lean and lean on people in your tribe? Like my roommate, like, how are we going to correspond with one another? How are we going to vibe? He may want to listen to loud music while I'm trying to study. So how do you navigate that? How
Right.
do you navigate getting the information? How do you navigate staying on scholarship if you are on scholarship? How do you navigate going into those extracurriculars? And what do you do when you can't focus? What I mean, you hit upon every topic that I wanted, my son to hear. What do you do when it's peer pressure? Like, do you know who you are? So
Mhm.
it was very real. It was very relatable. There were door prizes, things that kids needed. You had a student who was she was a first generation student who attends the University of Florida. And
Mhm.
she's the one that won the laptop, and it was something that she she said she really needed that going back to school. And she won that. I think she wants to be a math teacher. She's very
Right.
smart. Like, her parents want her to be a lawyer and all this, but she wants to be a math teacher. And
Mhm.
so it's just, there were various subgroups that were there, and they were all there learning the same things, learning from one another, sharing their stories. You had a student that was getting ready to go off to Valdosta State, out of state. You had, students who may be interested in HBCUs, and you had athletes in the audience as well. So for this to be your first one, this was good, because I'm that parent where I'm much like your mom. Your mom is very resourceful, and I like that. And she's resourceful, but I feel like she doesn't necessarily push you, because she wants you to be your own man, but she's going to guide you to make
Mhm.
sure that you stay on the straight and narrow. And she's going to expose you to those great opportunities, because that's the type of person that you are. And so another reason why this event was so important, just in my experience, because I don't necessarily feel that we are being guided how we should at my son's school. Like, there are so many, like, going to your event, going to other
Mhm.
events where it's college prep, or we're talking about meeting these deadlines. And I even joined a Facebook group that's like parents of 2026 scholars. And it's like, I'm learning all this information that she definitely doesn't push. So good
Yeah.
job. So yeah.
Wow.
And it's like, I can sense that from her. Sense that from her. And so like, just looking at that group, talking about FAFSA, talking about the different apps that if you apply one time, this app sends out all of this information to all of the schools that your child may want to apply to. It's like, but nobody at the school is telling me this. Like, and
Right.
that's what just angers me, because it's like, I want my son to be successful, but if he's not being pushed by me, sometimes he's not a self-starter. And then
Mhm.
sometimes it's like, it takes a while for him to rev up. But when he revs up, he's on it. And so just having that, just a varying learning, adapt adapt adaptability,
Mhm.
having that varying learning styles. I was glad that you put that in there, because kids learn differently. But it's like, you can't, at the end of the day, you can't rely on someone to give you the information. You have to be a seeker of the information. And so I was just so grateful that you were a catalyst. You were a resource that put that information out there. That's very important, that parents need. And I can just see it growing beyond probably what you even see it as, because there need to be recruiters there. I'm pretty sure people are going to want to link on to you. You gave the students a resource, which I love, because again, it's not a sit and get. Like, let's get some resources here. Like, let's get some tangible things. So I love that you gave them resources out the gate. Like, scan this QR code, go here. This is a platform of, where scholarships are, where you can find out information about this. So that was great. And I still haven't forgotten about that binder. I still want that binder. I feel like
Oh,
that binder is good luck. I
I'm
feel like
so
that
glad you
binder is
said
good
that,
luck.
because I knew it was something that I was supposed to be doing. I'm like, somebody asked me for something, but I don't remember what it was that they asked me for. But I will get you figured out.
I'm like, we got one more week to school. I'm about to go buy him a binder right now. We about to get some dividers. Like, all right, this is what you got to do. Let's go. Like, you are a visual
Yes.
learner. You gotta see it. So yeah, we about to get cranking. So yeah, that was amazing. Xavier, like, how did you feel about it? Like, did you feel a sense of purpose? Were you full? Like, what were your thoughts after experiencing your first event with that?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I felt good. I felt like leading up to it, I tend to kind of like psych myself out a little bit about things. But I was actually happy with the way that it turned out. I was happy with the feedback that I got from a lot of people. And even my panelists, they were saying like, I can't wait till next year. And just seeing that people, see my vision and have that hope as well, it definitely made me feel good to push this event. And while you were talking, I remembered when I was in high school, I don't even know if they still do it, but they used to do an HBCU summit in Winter Haven or somewhere like that. And I remember
you saying HBCU jump off.
Yes, that.
Mm-hmm.
That is also kind of why I did my summit a little bit too, because when I went to that, they had like HBCU recruiters, people winning scholarships, they were giving away door prizes. Like it was just a lot. And I personally had never really seen that before. Mm-hmm. And there were students there, but I also felt like it was a lot of parents there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just felt like a lot of people don't really, especially Fort Meade people, they're not going to travel to go somewhere for something like that. So I was like, let me bring it to them. You know what I'm saying? Like the things that are resourceful that they really need, I'm going to bring that to them. So like I said, being that I got a lot of great feedback, and I was able to give the laptop away to someone, who really needed it, and all those different things, I think that just really made me happy, because I know sometimes that, a lot of people aren't able to do things. And luckily enough for me, like when I graduated high school, we had project graduation. I had one of my mini fridge. Somebody, my cousin had bought me a laptop. Like, it kind of like when you have people to kind of help.
Yeah, you need a community.
Yeah, it alleviates all of that pressure off of you. And then also being that, I come from a single parent household, that also alleviates pressure off of my mom as well.
Yeah.
And not having to worry about purchasing certain things or doing certain things. So that was really the main thing for me.
Yeah. So Xavier, what are you doing now? What are you currently doing in your career? And is it fulfillment for you now?
Alrighty, so here we are to hit the real truth. This is another reason why I had the summit. I used to work for Marriott. I worked for Marriott for about 2.5 years, going on 3. And then I went to work for the State Bar of Georgia, and I worked as the meetings coordinator. And right before the new year, I was laid off. So since that time till now, I honestly have not been working. I've just been kind of using my freelance business as a source of income. So that was another thing what really kind of pushed me to do the summit, because by the time I did the summit, I had been unemployed for 5 or 6 months now. And so it was more so about, okay, I need to let people know, like, even if you got a degree, once you get out here in the real world, it's still going to be hard for you. Like, you can have a degree. Now, bachelor's degrees are looked at as high school diplomas.
Yeah.
So you have to really have the work ethic. You have to really have the experience. A lot that, and that's the one thing. A lot of kids don't like to work. They don't like to put in the effort to do it. But I'm here to tell y'all now, everything that y'all are going to try to go after and get into, if you don't have the experience, if you don't have someone that can say, oh yeah, I know that this person is a good worker, I know that this person is going to make sure that they put their best foot forward, you're not going to make it. If you don't have the determination, if you don't have the grit, where I'm constantly out here doing 10 to 20 applications a day. I even have my mom filling out job applications for me. Like, I'm thinking about potentially, like, do I have to move from Georgia? I just recently finished taking a substitute teaching course. So I'm looking at, getting into, possibly subbing. But right now, I will say I am fulfilled, although I'm not working, but I am fulfilled in the sense of I am still learning about myself.
Absolutely.
Growing. I'm still figuring out my likes, my dislikes. I'm still figuring out what I want, what I don't want. Even though there's that pressure of like, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that because I'm not working or whatever the case may be, it's still helpful to me because it's helping me with realizing like, okay, when my mama was telling me I should have been saving and doing this and doing that, I really should have been doing it because you never know when you have a rainy day. So it really just has kind of helped me to really reflect on things and just kind of grow and just know how to approach things, a little bit better.
Yeah. And let me tell you that, so I didn't know any of that, but I'm just telling you that that is what it's, for me, that's what it's all about, is when you feel fulfilled, when you are living in your purpose that God has given you, because it is there. And it doesn't matter, I'm sitting here on my own platform, this is my freelance, degree in broadcast journalism from Florida A&M University, but I'm also an educational leader because I had to pivot outside of college as well,
Right.
applying different places after even having an internship at the Washington Center in journalism. In some kind of way, education was paying more than journalism when I got out of the school. And I just decided I just felt like I didn't want to depend on anybody. And so I
Right.
just took the education route, which is very weird. And I always tell that story, like when I'm speaking to high school students, college students, whomever, like I always love to tell that story. But then look at this, I'm going right back to it because that's my purpose, and this podcast episode, like somebody's going to hear you say that, just like how you heard your mom give you advice and you know for a fact she knew what she was talking about. Xavier, now you are saying those same things from your learned experiences. You are taking the dynamic person that you still are, employed or unemployed, is in you. It's not what's on you. It's not what you're able to do, how you're able to maneuver. When something is in you, it's going to be for you. Like it's going to turn and morph into something as long as you keep doing the work, right? And so that's what a whole comeback is about, right? You have the tools, you have that degree, and so you've had experience in whatever field, and it's just this is an opportunity that has opened up for you. It's a blank landscape right now. So
Right.
it's you set your trajectory. That's where you are in your career path right now, and it's only greater on the other side of this because you have all of the experiences and the knowledge. So just like you pivoted in college, you'll pivot right now, and then you have a lot of support for you, right? And so I am so proud of you. Like you have a whole village. Like I'm looking at all of the comments. Like I haven't put them on the screen, but I'm looking at all of the comments that are coming in. You have, a great support system, and you are a resource. Like I look at you and it's like, yeah, I need to tap into him. Like this would be somebody that I would love for my son to speak to, like on a weekly basis of, let me just check in with you. Cause what are you doing? Like, and remember, to remain who you are, remember that if you have a goal, you fight for that goal, you have to put work behind it, and just to be smart about it, so you have something, you are something special, you are a treasure in the Fort Meade community and beyond out there in those Atlanta streets, okay? So I just keep pushing, like just keep pushing, and that Rattler network is very powerful.
Mhm.
So, and sometimes, even in my space of when it's not happening now, when I want it, even when it's frustrating, because it is frustrating. Speaking for
Right.
myself, it's very frustrating. And then to also, hear these expectations that people have from you, because a lot of people see that greatness in you. And
Mhm.
sometimes God is just saying it is not going to happen for you right now because you don't know what pathway he's clearing for you. You don't
Right.
know what place he's preparing for you, but you have to know that place is being prepared, and it's only going to be able to be obtainable when you're ready. It's
Right.
only going to be obtainable when it's ready for you.
Mhm.
So just be assured of that, because if there's one thing in this life that I am assured of, is that God is not going to let you fall. He's going to catch you, but you have to do the work, right? And so don't let up on that. Just keep pushing, and just never let anybody dim your light. Don't you dim your own light. You just
Mhm.
know that you are destined for greatness. So I'm speaking that into you, because what I saw from that panel, and that panel is just a glimpse into who you are, Xavier. You are mighty, you are powerful, you are a change agent, and people need you, right? And so you got it. So we can't wait to see what it's gonna be, you know? Because like we said, it's already in there. It's already in you. And so you were a blessing to a lot of people. Like look at those lives that you impacted at your event. And so there's just greater to come.
Yes.
So did you did you want to end on a note? Is there something that you wanted to wrap this segment up with?
I would just say I am a very outspoken person.
Yeah.
My mom can tell you she can't control nothing that I do, whether it's what I say, nothing of that sort. I am my own person. I am going to always be that bold, outspoken person. So just being someone from little old Fort Meade, living in Atlanta right now, even with the current climate that we're in now, I am a Black gay man. So it's just like always be yourself. Never let anyone, like Ms. Jessica said, never let anyone dim your light. You are the person that knows exactly what you want. So always make sure that you are going after the things that are going to make you happy and not what's going to make someone else happy. So that's just the one thing I really just want to leave on, is just something that I always push on people, is always show up for yourself and, do what's best for you.
Absolutely. That's golden. And so thank you, Xavier, for giving this time on this fantastic Monday, the first Monday in August. I truly appreciate your time. I truly appreciate your heart, your skill set. I'm going to be waiting for that binder. I'll drop you my address. Your mom said, I'm going to find it for you. She put in the comment over here. I'll find it for you. So, but I've loved this episode. Thank you for your wealth of knowledge, for the drive that you have. And guys, keep an ear out, keep an eye out on social media for the next one, because I know that this will be an annual event. I know that people will support you. You have my support. So whatever it is that you need, and if I'm able to help you with it, just say the word and I'm there. We will continue to support you. We will continue to uplift you in prayers. We will go to the alumni groups and put your info in. Just say the word and we got you. And so, Xavier, thank you so much again for being my special guest for episode 161 of the Jazzie Conversations with Jazz podcast. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube, Facebook, and your favorite podcast platform. We are gearing up for the 4-year podcast anniversary live show. It is going to be a fantastic day full of interviews, full of live music, live performances, vendors, food trucks, everything galore. We're going to party. We might have Xavier coming in and cut a rug a little bit. Show us what we need to do. But save the date, November 8th. Tickets will go on sale very soon. So keep your eye out for that. And so I just want to say, make sure that you understand that in this life, you can come back from anything with God, using the right to resources effectively and your willingness to do the necessary work. So I will see you right back here next Monday at 7 p.m. with another special guest. Have a good night, guys. Have a good night, Xavier.
You.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.